What's up everyone, my name is Gearhead Geek, and today I just wanted to make this short video to do some testing and showcase how leg weapon surge mods interact with activity surges as well as activity overcharges in Destiny 2 post Lightfall. I wanted to make this video because recently I've been seeing a lot of people claiming that they don't stack and people saying they do stack, and in particular in reference to the Master Root of Nightmares raid. So I figured today I'd jump in, do a little bit of testing within Master Root of Nightmares just to see how they all interact. So today, as I mentioned, I'll be doing testing within Master Root of Nightmares. The currently active surges are Void Surge, as well as Strand Surge, along with Overcharged Shotgun. Just a quick note before we begin, this video is not intended to be a full rundown of how activity surges and overcharges work. There are lots of great YouTube videos out there on that if you're looking to learn more. Really the focus for today is just going to be seeing how the weapon surge mods of various elemental types, which we slot onto our leg armor, interact with activity surges and activity overcharges. Alright, so kicking things off, we are going to start off taking a look at the 25% damage bonus which is given to kinetic weapons when you are matching the currently active activity surge. Again, we have Void Surge and Strand Surge active right now in Master Root of Nightmares this week. And for our testing, we'll be using Arbalest. Nice easy weapon to work with, and very clear to see what the numbers are. So starting things off, let's swap to a non-matching subclass being Arc. And as we move up, we can see that Arbalest does 10,815 damage on a body shot against a red bar enemy with a non-matching subclass. Now, let's swap back over to Void. And we can see that against a unshielded red bar enemy, Arbalest is doing 13,518 damage. Alright, for our next test, we're going to go ahead and see how Arbalest does with a non-matching subclass with 2 kinetic weapon surge mods equipped. So the way we're going to do this is create an Orb of Power, pick up that Orb of Power, and we will get Armor Charge, which will grant us a 2x kinetic weapon damage bonus. I will point out I'm using Reaper to generate an orb, so I'll use my class ability, kill an enemy, and then go and pick up their orb. Also have time dilation on just to give me a few more seconds to run in there, grab it, and get a shot off. So we'll do our dodge. We will kill that Scion, who will graciously give us an orb. We will rush in there, pick up that orb, and now we can see that Arbalest is doing 12,653 damage. Alright, so for our next test, we are now back to a matching subclass, that is being on Void, which matches the currently active weekly surge of Void Surge. So we're going to do the same thing, activate our class ability, we will create an orb, then we'll go pick up that orb and see what the damage is like against a unshielded red bar enemy. Do that. Create our orb. Nice and easy on Void as we can just go in, grab that orb. Okay, and now we can see that Arbalest is doing 15,816 damage. Alright, so for our next test, we're going to move on to testing using some scout rifles. In this case, they are rapid fire frame. We have the Trusty and Aisha's Embrace. We're going to use this to take a look at both artifact overcharges as well as the activity surge and see how everything stacks together. So we'll start off using our Trusty. In this case, we are going to be using a matching subclass just because it's going to make it a little bit easier to do this testing. That does not have any effect on anything outside of that kinetic weapon damage bonus. Taking a look at the artifact, you will note that I do not have Unstoppable Scout Rifle enabled. So Scout Rifles will not get the overcharge from having a champion mod unlocked on the artifact. in this initial testing. So to start things off, we will take a look at our trustee. Again, this is not overcharged because we don't have the artifact mod unlocked, and it is not matching any of the weekly surges on the master raid. That said, taking a look at it, we can see that against an unshielded red bar combatant, it is doing 1,320 damage per shot. Now, let's step back. Let's use our class ability. We'll use our Arbalist to get ourselves an orb. There's our orb. We'll swap back. We'll double check that we have the correct mods on, which I do not. So let's swap those over to Solar Weapon Surge mods. There we go. We have 2 Solar Weapon Surge mods on. We're going to run up. We will go and we will collect our Orb of Power. And now we can see against an unshielded red bar enemy, it is doing 1,544 damage per shot. Alright, so now with that out of the way, let's take a look at our Void Scout Rifle without the artifact overcharge occurring. Again, we do not have Unstoppable Scout Rifle unlocked. So what we're going to do is we're going to swap over to our Aisha's Embrace, which is Void, which will match the weekly Activity Surge. Let's also go ahead and we'll swap our Void mods on ahead of time. Okay, so starting off, we can see that against these same enemies, we are going to do, don't want to hit a crit, 1,650 damage on a body shot. So that is giving us that 25% increase in damage due to the fact that we have the weekly Void Activity Surge active. Now, let's go ahead, create ourselves an Orb of Power, and see what it does. Okay, we'll finish this guy off over there. Makes us an orb. We will attempt to grab that orb. There we go, we have our armor charge. And now we can see that it is doing 1,930 damage per shot, showing that we are getting that 17% increase in damage from having those Void Weapon Surge mods active on top of the weekly Activity Surge. Alright, so moving right along, we are going to go ahead and we are going to unlock Unstoppable Scout on our artifact. This will grant Scout Rifles the overcharged weapon ability within an activity which has seasonal overcharges active, which this does. And just to show, we have overcharged shotgun and we have overcharged weapons active, as you can see on the right hand side. So with this, let's go ahead and swap our mods back over. So now we have overcharged Scout Rifle enabled. So this should be giving us a 25% damage buff on the base. So as we go ahead and we get a body shot on this enemy, we can see it's doing 1,650 damage on a body shot, which aligns with what we saw on our Void Scout Rifle, which was matching the Activity Surge. So we are in fact getting that 25% damage bonus from having this weapon be overcharged from the seasonal artifact mod. Alright, so now let's create an Orb of Power and see if the Weapon Surge mods on our boots do in fact stack. Use our class ability, take out this guy here, make our Orb of Power, wait for that incandescent to wear off. Run up, grab our Orb of Power, we now have armor charge, and we can see the weapon is now doing 1,930 damage, which also aligns with what we saw on our Void Scout Rifle, which is matching the weekly Activity Surge. Alright, now let's take a look at if the Void Scout Rifle stacks with that overcharge which we get from the seasonal artifact mod along with the Void Surge. So we'll swap back over to that, swap our mods over. Okay, so we can see that a body shot is now going to deal 1,650 damage. So we can see that the overcharge from having the seasonal mod unlocked for Unstoppable Scout does not stack with the Void Activity Surge in the activity. Now let's go ahead, create an Orb of Power, and see if we do in fact still get the damage bonus on there. So we'll use our class ability. Take one of these guys out over here, make ourselves an orb. Let's run in there. Pick up an orb, and now we can see that we are doing 1,930 damage. So our leg weapon surge mods do still stack. Alright, and for our final test, we're going to be taking a look at the Activity Overcharge. In this case, it is shotgun for this week. So we will be testing using 2 aggressive frame shotguns, a Mindbender's Ambition, and a Comedian, one void, one being solar. As you'll note here, they are both at 1600 power. I had a bit of a lack of infusion fuel for them. So they are at the same power level. If these were up to level, you may see higher damage numbers, but that's not really what we're testing here. We're just looking for the delta between the various things that we're testing. So we'll start off with our Mindbender's Ambition. As you can see, we do have 2 solar weapon surge mods equipped. So to start off, let's go in and let's see what this thing does without any weapon surge mods active and just the overcharge from the activity. So here we can see that we are hitting for between 608 and 609 per pellet when we're up close like that. You do see a little bit of variation simply due to the game rounding out numbers. So that done, let's take a look here. Let's go create an orb of power for ourselves. There we go, we got our orb up there. Let's go collect that orb and see what we do with our leg weapon surge mods activated. Okay, there we go, we have armor charge, and now we can see that we are doing around 712 damage per pellet. Alright, so next up we are going to swap over to our Comedian, which is Void, which does match the weekly weapon surge in here, as well as matches the weekly overcharge. Let's go ahead, we'll change our mods over to Void. Okay, so to start things off, let's take a look with no weapon surge mods on. We are doing 608 to 609 damage per pellet. Back out for a second. As we go back in, we'll collect our orb of power. And we can now see we are doing 711 to 712 damage per pellet, just like we were with the solar shotgun. Alright, and just to round things out, I wanted to show that in addition to working on just red bar enemies, this does also hold true on Nezarec as well. Just going to do some really quick testing here using 2 sniper rifles, 1 arc, 1 void, both of them adaptive frame as you can see. The arc will not match the weekly activity surge, the void will, and then I'll do a third test with the void and then activate void weapon surge mods. Just going to do this super quick, won't have commentary during the test, but again, just wanted to show that this does all hold true on Nezarec as well. Before we wrap things up, if you've made it this far in the video, I'd just like to say thank you very much for watching. If you found this video helpful, please leave a like on the video and click that subscribe button, as it really helps me out as a new creator. I also stream on Twitch, and I'll leave a link to my channel down below in the description if you'd like to follow me over there. With that out of the way, let's take a look at what we found. Starting off with having our equipped subclass matching one of the current activity elemental surges, which grants us a 25% damage bonus to our kinetic weapons, we have shown that this does stack with kinetic weapon surge mods. Next, we have shown that when using a weapon that matches one of the current activity elemental surges, in addition to the 25% damage bonus this grants us, our weapon surge mods do stack and grant us the appropriate amount of damage increase per number of mods slotted. Moving along, we have seen that when using a weapon that matches one of the current activity elemental surges and is also overcharged, these two things do not stack to a 50% bonus, but instead just grant the initial 25% damage bonus. Weapon surge mods will, however, still provide the appropriate damage increase on top of this per the number of mods slotted. And lastly, we have seen that when a weapon is overcharged, on top of the 25% damage bonus it receives, our weapon surge mods do again stack and grant us the appropriate amount of damage increase per number of mods slotted. And with that, I'd just like to thank you all for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day or evening.